It's CJ!
That's me, CJ the Lego Guy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Ahsoka episode review. And just to start off right away, I apologize for the lack of reviews, especially with how grand the episode 4 and 5 chapters were. As I mentioned before, I've been going through some scheduling issues and I just couldn't get to those, even though those episodes were so cool. But sure enough, just to summarize for those two, I loved everything and all the cool little things from both episodes. And sure enough, I still want to work on that philosophy video that I teased before. But with those two episodes now passed, let's get right into my usually late episode review with Ahsoka Chapter 6, Far, Far Away. And when I saw this with my brother and my dad, we instantly thought of Shrek, Far, Far Away. But yes, when we catch up with our characters, Sabine calls out Balin for going against the deal, but Balin did say that he would bring Sabine here for a chance to find him. Not that he ever knew where he was, which is what I figured was going to happen. But that's just a little classic character trope with Sabine reacting to the thought of being betrayed when the titular antagonist carefully phrased his betrayal. The mystery and intrigue within this new galaxy, especially the planet that they're arriving at, was so palpable, especially with Elsbeth explaining how this planet is almost like a entire wasteland and a place where all the Purgo go to die and other spatial mystical things like that. It was even crazy when you get closer to the planet that looked a lot like Saturn and saw that the ring around it was just full of just debris of dead Purgles. That was really wild of a visual to see. But yes, once the Eye of Sion arrives at the planet of Paldea, we instantly jump right into the mysticism of the episode, especially when we find out that not only this planet was the original planet of origin for the Night Sisters of Dathomir, which Elsbeth refers as to Dathomiri. It was so crazy to find out that all the magical stuff within the known Star Wars galaxy originated from this second galaxy. That completely makes sense in a way, but that's just so crazy that all the mysticisms and magic from Star Wars must have originated from this galaxy. And this place is so eerie and mysterious. So cool, especially when we see the remaining Night Mothers, Grandmothers, Great Night Elders, especially since we thought that they were all extinct now. But it's so crazy to see Dathomir witches again, especially when they're doing their magical stuff. That was cool. But sure enough, after some dialogue between Elsbeth and the Dathomir mothers, enters the big man in blue with his giant Imperial Star Destroyer, which is so intimidating, especially with all the new modifications to it, with all the gold and then the emblem on the bottom. Oh man, it was so tense, and the anticipation to seeing his reveal was so crazy. Seeing his army of what is labeled as night troopers were so cool, and seeing how like the messed up armor is patched together with these red robes, which is very much within the aesthetic of the Dathomiri, but instantly a lot of people could tell that these will probably be the zombie stormtroopers from Legends, which will be so insane and makes complete sense what with the Night Sister magic being able to use necromancy abilities. These are probably like the dead souls of stormtroopers, which is going to be so wild if that is true. And what's even cooler is we get the main lead of the stormtrooper, or my bad, the night trooper army in a new character called Enoch, who has a really cool gladiator-esque mask over his helmet. You know, it's so cool. This guy is just all stoic and very warrior-like, especially later when he tells Sabine, die with dignity or have a good death or whatever. It's pretty interesting just to see how the changes went about, especially with this new character. I love how everyone has like a nice aesthetic. It was pretty cool. And just another addition to the long growing list of all the different trooper types. But yeah, once we do see Thrawn, it was pretty cool. And just hearing his voice and having the voice actor come back from Rebels, it's just like we're just picking up from where we left off. And I know people were saying that he looked kind of chunky in this episode. I just think it's the uniform that's just puffy as all, because Thrawn's makeup and design looks so great, and it was so cool just to see him return. And then, of course, naturally, he has his dialogue with Sabine. And of course, it would be in Thrawn's nature to allow Sabine to do whatever she wants, but he does reiterate that they're on a time schedule, and if she doesn't make it back, she's not as leaving this planet, let alone the galaxy, since Thrawn and his forces are now moving all their cargo into the Imperial shuttle. And what's interesting is that a theory is spreading that the cargo is just more dead bodies for the Dathomiri sisters to possibly resurrect if they haven't already. Which is going to be so wild if Thrawn just pulls up with his night trooper army of just dead zombie-like troopers. It's going to be so wild to see. When Sabine is let free to go in search of Ezra, she's given this rat dog kind of thing, and I thought it was really cute. And it was really funny how it's one of those animal tropes in fiction where you have this almost intimidating looking animal, and then when a character becomes familiar with it, it's just for looks, and it's just a complete baby on the inside. Especially the way that it was just roaming around with Sabine. Thought that was funny. And especially during the what I refer to as rebel comedy. And I know some people didn't like the slower bits, especially with Sabine's parts with the wildlife of this planet, and compared it to the comedy from Last Jedi, but I think it was still pretty great to have this kind of moments within the episode to break off from the more intense parts of it from Thrawn and the others, which Thrawn does have a small dialogue with Balin and has him and Shin go after Sabine, since it is his goal to wipe out pieces from the opposing side. So Thrawn orders Balin and Shin to go after Ezra and Sabine and eliminate them here, which his dialogue with Elsbeth kind of implies that Thrawn doesn't care whether or not Balin and Shin make it back in time before they depart or not. But then when we catch the dialogue between Balin and Shin as Balin's reflecting on his Jedi past and how he's far removed from it, it doesn't seem like Balin wants to leave at all, since he knows that there's a great potential in the mysticism and magic within this planet. And that's pretty much what his goal was from the beginning, that he wanted to come here and use whatever is hiding within this galaxy to fuel his goal to gain a new power he would never have had within the known galaxy, with the Empire or even the Jedi Order. But then that brings up the interesting thing. What is in this galaxy that has such potential and power? I know there's theories about the Uzon Vong and all these other things, but it's just going to be so cool to see, like, what is this thing that's calling to Balin? It has to be something mystical. We all know that. But, oh man, it's going to be so cool to see in fruition. While Sabine's on her trail to find Ezra, she gets jumped by some bandits, which looked really cool, and they also had the red kind of aesthetic, but my brother pointed out that they looked very samurai-esque, and I thought that was pretty cool, and I agreed with that too. And sure enough, Sabine takes them all out, and when she's back on her journey, she encounters these like rock gremlins, which someone compared to the rock gremlins from Frozen. I thought that was funny. It was just pretty cute. It was just some fun little wildlife comedy in Star Wars. And sure enough, she figures out that when one of these creatures has the Rebels emblem, that they know where Ezra was. Which I jokingly said, like, for this little guy to be like, oh, I know Ezra. He did. Bad joke aside, Sabine is then taken to the camp of these little critters, which, funny enough, looks like a whole bunch of mobile homes, which kind of makes sense since they do tend to be like hermit crabs almost, in the sense of they just stay in their shells and they just want to be removed from everything else. But then, sure enough, when she approaches the center of the camp, we hear his voice. Ezra Bridger is back. And man, this one meme that I saw very much encapsulated the whole situation in its entirety. Sabine and Ezra just looking at each other while speaking without moving towards each other, like, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and I look at him. That was just so funny, and I'm glad that they finally, like, hugged it out and started talking. But although I thought that the reunion was going to be different, it just completely makes sense as two people who are best of friends. Yeah, because we have to remember that Sabine was friend-zoned. even though that's kind of weird and not what it was implying in Rebels. That two best friends, after having not seen each other for quite some time, and they finally reunite, it's not always a grand spectacle and acknowledgement of the loss of time. Rather, it just instantly feels like a continuation from the last time they saw each other. And I thought that was really sweet. And it's very clear that that's what happened with Sabine and Ezra. And Ezra's new look is pretty good. I like his new design. It's pretty nice. And ooh, the theories about Ezra potentially learning dark side, or at least like using the balance between light and dark side energy, is actually pretty cool. But we'll see everything to do with Ezra's story within this new galaxy. Hopefully in the next episode, I'm sure. Also, I forgot to mention how funny that rat dog was, like, very much trying not to eat these little things, because you could tell that that dog is hungry. And unfortunately to them, they look like snacks to the rat dog. But yes, with Thrawn and Elsbeth getting their forces together and preparing for liftoff, we now know that there is a time limit for all of our other characters within the planet. What with Balin and Shin going after Sabine and Ezra, and the four of them having limited time to leave the planet before Thrawn does, things are getting exciting, and the hype and anticipation is increasing, what with the days passing by until we get to the next episode of Ahsoka. And I feel like we're gonna have Thrawn leave the galaxy, Ahsoka arrive at the planet just in time to catch Balin and Shin fighting Sabine and probably Ezra too. But who knows? We'll have to just see in the next episode. But it is pretty exciting to see what's gonna happen next, especially since is next week's episode the penultimate episode? Or are we already at the final episode? Oh, guys, that would be crazy if we are. But yes, we'll just have to wait and see what exciting things are in store for us next time in Ahsoka episode 4. Episode 4, chapter 8. That little mistake is just what I get for not releasing the episode 4 video. My mind's still on 4. But yes, with that, what theories do you have about the upcoming Ahsoka episode? And what thoughts and opinions do you have on the show overall? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this past episode, the upcoming episode, and then your overall thoughts on Ahsoka. Write them down in the comment section down below. But with that, this video comes to an end. And if you made it this far, I'd like to give you a big thanks for all your support. It's very much appreciated. But with that, I hope that you continue to have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Especially, hopefully, for the next Ahsoka chapter episode review. But with that, I'm CJ, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye for now. Rat dog.